There are currently 5 mainline Animal Crossing games, which means there are 5 intros to the Animal Crossing game. And since I've decided to make it a goal of mine to play every Animal Crossing game every day for this next year, I recently just played the intro of all 5 games, which makes this the perfect opportunity to rank them all. And by the way, if you do want to join me in that journey of playing every game every day, I will be streaming Monday through Friday on Twitch at 10 p.m. Eastern. Go ahead and check the description for a link to my Twitch and the pinned comment. Thank you. Number 5, City Folk. This one earns its spot at last by being the 3rd game in the series to not change up the intro formula at all. I guess it technically changes up the dialogue a little bit, but it's to the level of, hey, make sure you change a couple words so teacher doesn't know we copied each other, like change cute to pretty or something like that. And yeah, teacher knows you copied. And then where it does choose to make those little changes, I feel like they end up being worse than its predecessors. In the example of the dialogue, it's just less spicy and interesting and kind of becomes very normie, I guess. So let's go ahead and start with the bad of City Folk, and then I'll get into the good. First off, we're starting with a rover fever dream. I think in this case they're trying to hail back to Gamecube, where you start with a KK fever dream, but KK is greater than rover. So this rover fever dream is kind of a problem, and he's kind of like toxically positive, at least compared to KK. KK's like, yeah, you got good things ahead of you, you're moving out, seeing the world, and then rover is just like all positive. So, I don't like that. However, I do admire that smooth transition into asking if you're going to move from your Wild World account, which is why I'm not sure if I like that or not, being able to transfer your character and their catalog from your previous game. I don't know, I was thinking if the next game does that, where you can transfer your catalog from New Horizons, would I do it or wouldn't I do it? I think if I could transfer my DIYs, I would do it, but maybe not the catalog. I don't know, I guess it's good that they're at least giving people that option to, maybe you don't want to get into the dregs of Animal Crossing again, because this game's going to be pretty similar, so you can go ahead and start with the progress you've kind of made before, but, do like making the bells and getting the new items all over again. So, I guess it's good. Okay, another thing I didn't like is that Rover follows you onto the bus. I don't like Rover. I'm sorry to Rover fans out there, he just creepy deepy to me, okay? His red diamond eyes and his big old smile. I'm not here for it. Also, the bus is undisputably the lamest way you come into town. In the first game, it's this old-timey train, which is pretty sick awesome. In Wild World, it's a cab, it's nice and personal. And then we have this dumb, dingy public transport bus, which you end up seeing a lot in the game because it takes you to the city. And then in number 4, New Leaf, we have a train, a modern train. It's fine, I guess. And then the plane, of course, in New Horizons, which we don't see the inside of. Kind of a shame. Anyway, but of all the vehicles, I feel like the bus is the lamest. They also make it really dark. Anyway, me no likey. Another dislike for me is them dumping my butt at the bus station and then just telling me to go to Town Hall. All the other games, there's someone there greeting me, or I at least in Wild World get dropped off at Town Hall. Here they're just like, here's a map, go to Town Hall, good luck with your new future. And another super dumb thing is that once you get there, Pelly's just like, oh hey, you're the new person in town, well welcome, now go to a house, go check out the houses, Nook wants to sell you one. Why don't I just go check out the houses right away? There's no reason to go to Pelly first, none at all. And Nook shows up once you do come to the house, and it's like, how did you know I was here? He doesn't even say, Pelly tipped me off. He's like, I've heard so much about you. And it's like, why have you heard so much about me? Who's talking about me? I just got here. Anyway, it just doesn't feel smooth and cohesive. It feels like they grabbed the Wild World intro, and they were like, well, we gotta plug it in to the City Folk, how things are gonna work with you being on this bus and things. So they're like, oh, well, in Wild World, you went to City Hall first, which made sense because you were dropped off right outside of it. So I guess we'll have them go to City Hall first and then do the house. Like, I feel like they didn't look at how to make it cohesive with how City Folks mechanics works. And it just ends up being a worse intro because of that, even though it's basically the same as all the other ones. Anyway, and then you go into being Tom Nook's slave and things, and it's all just like the other games, but less interesting. The dialogue anyway, but the same thing. I will admit that City Folk does do two things okay. One is that outside the house, Tom Nook tells you to go introduce yourself to all the villagers, which is nice instead of hauling your butt over to the shop, only for him to be like, okay, leave the shop and go talk to all the villagers, when it's like, I could have talked to them on my way here. So that's nice. I also enjoy that Tortimer's losing his mind. Well, I guess it's better to say he's losing his memory. You go in there and he's like, kind of having trouble keeping it together. And I kind of like that. It's alluding to him retiring in New Leaf. Not sure if that was planned, but looking back, it feels that way. Why wasn't he outside like all the other ones? I guess because he's losing his mind and he's too old to be outside. Those are my thoughts on the mayor in the City Folk and the intro. Basically, City Folk gets last for using the same formula as the previous two games, but doing nothing to make it better. In fact, making it worse at almost every turn where they decide to do something different. It's kind of frustrating, but at least you blow past this intro part pretty quickly. Number 4, Gamecube. I gotta say, this and number 3 are basically neck and neck, but this one has Rover. And not just any Rover. Rover approaching you very slowly with a smile on his face. You feel all cornered in your train seat. And then, he asks the question of, if you're the psycho, talk about projection. Yeah, that face, it just screams psycho. And yes, I do welcome the dislikes from you Rover lovers. Sorry, not sorry. So, what does Gamecube do wrong? Besides the whole Rover being a giant creepo thing. Everyone laughs at me and shames me, like giant ha-ha-has appear over their head while they're laughing at me. I know it's just a game, but I feel insulted. Another thing, I'm doing these errands as fast as possible because I want to be done with the intro. And one time I come back and Tom Nook is all like, oh, you took too long, I'm gonna have to dock your pay. And then he tells me, oh, I'm not prepared for your next job. Just go out and talk to the people. We'll try to get an errand from them. And it's like, dude, you just docked my pay for not being fast enough and you're not even ready for me. Then that whole task he sends me on makes this whole thing longer. None of the other intros have the go talk to the animals to get another task from them. That being because you can't ask villagers for favors in future games. They need to come to you for that. But it does make this intro longer, and this intro already feels really long for some reason. Then on top of that, the only reason I'm working for Nook is because apparently I came into town with no plan and only 1,000 bells to my name, and he was like, oh no, you don't have money, I can't offload this thing I was trying to rent on you if you can't pay me. Oh, I know, how about you come work for me and then you can earn the house. But it ends up being 1,000 bells I earn when I have about 20,000 I need to pay back. So he forces me into labor to pay off the house and then pays me nothing, even though he's these houses are a burden on him. He's been trying to offload them and hasn't found anyone who wants them. Another frustrating aspect is that they do not give you a map when you come into town. There's 2 bulletin boards in town, one with the police station, one with the train station, that have a map, but you do not personally have a map for the first 3 or 4 tasks. And then he's like, oh wait, you want a map? And then he shames me for wanting one. He's like, kids these days can't find their way around. It's like, what the heck, dude? Calm down. I need a map to find where houses are. Then after telling me that I haven't worked enough for him to completely pay off the loan, he's like, oh, that's okay. You can pay it off little by little later. And he tells me to go do favors for the villagers to pay it off and pick fruit, I think. Doesn't say a word about fishing or catching bugs, which isn't that the main way you make money in Animal Crossing? Maybe in Gamecube they really just wanted you to hang out with the villagers all the time to make your money, but they don't even let you have a fishing rod or a net until after you pay off your first payment, which when you want to train people to use bugs and fish to make money to pay off their houses? No, instead you gotta like cobble together fruit and talk to your villagers. So strange, so strange. Okay, now that I'm done filing those complaints, what it does right. I love the KK intro. He does a little positive and talks a little about how it can be lonely and things like that. This beautiful intro about friendship. But it also kind of feels like an ad, like he's trying to tell you to get your friends to get Animal Crossing to play with you. I also love how you come into town, the old-timey train. Classic, what can I say? Then when you get off the train, there's actually someone there to greet you. Tom Nook comes right up. He's like, hey, I got that house for you. Let's look at it. All the houses are nice and equal, no matter what you choose. I feel like it's hard to be like, oh, I don't know if I made the right choice, because it's not like the houses are that different. I also love Nook's dialogue in this one. He says some pretty funny things. He tells you right off the bat that he's not in the best shape, which is funny. And I love this little joke he does here when he tells you to pay back 1,000 every week. I personally was like, what? In this game you have to pay back 1,000 a week? Telling me his raccoon goons will come get me if I don't. And then he's like, never mind. Pay it off at whatever pace you want to. I'm just kidding. So, love that. Oh, and calling my house cozy. Yeah, it's cozy. You want that house, right? Then there was this moment when I took off my uniform and came in my normal clothes. And Nook, at first he chewed me out a little bit, and then he's all like, you know what? Fine, you be hip, you little kiddo. Do the hippiest hipper, whatever, he says. And I appreciate that he lets me have my freedom in that way, even though earlier I tried like 5 times to start working without the uniform, and he didn't let me. I hear eventually he'll let you. I don't know how many times you have to do. And this is one small difference that's kind of dumb, but when he's like, okay, and you got to pay off your debt through the post office, I've always been like, but why? But in Gamecube, he's like, it's for tax purposes. I don't know. I kind of like knowing that that's the reason why you can't just haul up to his shop with a million bells in your pockets and be like, yo, Nook, take my money, pay off the house. Which is what I would prefer to do, since you have to go talk to him anyway after you pay off the debt. Overall, Gamecube gets its spot at 4 because it's kind of mean. And it's the first game, so it has a lot of kinks to work out. But it also has a lot of quirks and a lot of life to it that make it a lot of fun to play through. Well, not a ton of fun, because you're being an indentured servant, but funner than your indentured servitude experience with city folk, at least. Number 3, Wild World. Although this intro is very similar to the other two, there's no rover, ergo it ranks above the other 2. So let's jump right into the bad. First off, Cap'n hits on me. Look at this here. He's all like, oh, you don't got any money, miss? Well, you can pay me with a dinner. A romantic one. And I'm sure in 2005 that was just some nice old man humor. But in 2021, I am seeing chunks, cause that aged like milk. A line like that would probably never be written today. So yeah, it's kind of bad, but it's also kind of like, aw, nostalgic for the early 2000s when times were a little more innocent, I guess. My next downvote is that no one greets me. I come up to this new town, at least like Cap'n gives me a hearty, like, have fun in your new life, but I'm still alone. And at least I'm right outside the town hall, so that's helpful. Another annoying thing is that when Tom Nook is like, okay, one of your tasks is to go and get to know everyone in town, you have to talk to the villagers twice. In Gamecube, it was only once, and City Folk is probably also twice too, but after doing this one, I just automatically talk to them twice. Anyway, so I go and I track everyone down, talk to them once, I get back to Nook, and he's like, oh, no, like, actually get to know them. You can't just say hi. So then I have to go back and talk to them again. And the problem with Wild World is these guys are on the move. Like, I don't think there's any other game where they change location so quickly. So when you go to find them again for your second little chat, they can be quite a ways away from where you first talked to them, making it quite frustrating. But beyond that, this game has a lot of good. First off, I know Cap'n hits on you and it's a little creepy, but I do love his dialogue, his piratey dialogue, and the fact that he miladies me as I'm getting out of the cab. I love that. Oh, I don't know if I love this or hate this, but choosing where your house is, they have this pop-up menu, and it has the selections, and whatever you choose, that's where your house will be close to. So you kind of get to choose-ish where it is, but you don't get all the control. I feel like it's a happy medium between New Leaf and other games. Like, you can't get exact location, but at least it's not super random. But I'm still iffy onto whether or not this is good, because I chose border as where I wanted my house to be, and they put me smack dab in the middle of the map. I'm like, did you say where I wanted to avoid? Because you did a great job not putting me by the border. In this game, there continues to be shaming, but I feel like it's a lot more lighthearted than Gamecube. I don't feel like I'm being laughed at. I feel like I'm being laughed with. At least giant ha-ha-has aren't appearing above everyone who's making fun of me's head, at the very least. Another complaint of mine from Gamecube is balanced out here. He uses the job to show you the ropes, he says. And oh, you're gonna make a little bit of money. He doesn't go, this is gonna pay off your debt. Just, we're gonna do 2 birds, 1 stone, make a little money, show you the ropes. In the end, I think the Wild World intro is the best of the original 3 game intros. It just does, it has a good balance. Not total jerks, but still interesting. Number 2, New Horizons. Before playing through all these intros, I thought New Horizons would rank first due to its polish, but it just didn't get me feeling the feels like number 1 does. For this ranking, it's a little hard to talk about because it's not super clear when the intro to New Horizons really ends. For sure, it ends when KK comes to perform. But you could technically say the intro ends after the KK fever dream when you go to sleep after the first fake day. I'm gonna say the intro for the purpose of this video is around the time of paying off your house and also setting up the shop. I feel like most of the intro stuff is out of the way by the time you've done those 2 things. So what are the bads of this intro? The whole video you watch on the plane ride to the island, it feels like an ad. I think Nintendo has used that as an ad, and all that's missing is that lady's voice that's in all their Animal Crossing ads. So I don't like that. Maybe the first time I played it, I was like, yes, I was getting the feels, but on this replay, I was like, oh, this just feels like I'm being advertised to. I'm also not a fan of Tom Nook being a slacker. He's all like, me and Shroomy are gonna handle the wood and the drinks. And then I come back with the wood and he's like, I've been over here eating cherries, confirming that they are in fact cherries. Can you go gather cherries? It's like, really? I know they're trying to teach you to pick up fruit, but And the last thing about the intro that just really rubs me wrong is that you have to donate 5 things to Nook for the museum in order to progress in the game. If you do not donate these 5 things, Blathers can't move in. If Blathers doesn't move in, you can't get a shovel and vaulting pole. If you don't get the shovel and vaulting pole, you can't cross to the other side and enjoy the rest of your island. Well, besides that is on the cliffs. And you can't dig up fossils. You can't hit rocks for materials, so getting the shop is impossible because you can't get iron. You also can't bury the fruit that your mother sent to get a more valuable fruit. So much hinges on donating those 5 things. And I think it should be within someone's right to choose not to donate them, to just be like, no, I want the money. You shouldn't be forced to donate to the museum if you don't want to. That's a fun goal in the game. You shouldn't be forced to donate in order to progress in the game. Like in the past, donating would get you little perks like the cafe or the upstairs store unlocked. But literally, to continue in the game, you have to donate at least 5 things. After that huge flaw, onto the good. I love the guise of the airport kind of a thing to tell them your name and to pick your face. And I love that you can pick your face instead of, in every other game it's been, you have all these options you go through and depending on what you pick in the options, it decides your face. But unless you use a guide, you don't know what face that option's gonna get you. So it is nice being able to actually pick my face. I also appreciate that they have both hemispheres in this game, especially as the game broadens its horizons to more and more people. Oh, and having the maps side by side is super nice. So you can look at them all, compare, decide which one you want, knowing what the other ones are right there. And wrapping up our time in the airport, I love that they asked that deserted island question, what you would bring to a deserted island. Oh my gosh, the first time I played, I was like, what? I already picked my face. What is this question deciding? What's going on? I don't think it does anything. If it does something, please let me know. But I just thought that was so funny. And I love the flyover as you come in and you see the island for the first time. That's some warm fuzzies right there. I love how the Nooklings refer to Nook as their fearless leader, and you actually get to see the Nooklings and Nook interact in every other game. They're in their separate worlds, so it's so cute to see the three of them together doing their whole vibe thing. Like, you always imagine in the background that they were, but it's good to actually see it. And it's so fun to be starting the journey with all your town. Like, instead of you being this new person that arrived to town, like, you guys are in it together. You're building up from the ground up together. It's so cool. I love that about New Horizons. And with that togetherness, you have a sick awesome party to celebrate your first day. I guess it's not that cool, but it is fun that at the end of your first day, you all kind of get together and be like, we did it. We made it through the first day, and you name your town. And that's a part I especially enjoy. Every other game, it's been on the train like, oh, so where are you going? Okay, and then you type in the name there. But now, like, you feel like you're really naming it. You're there at the beginning, the founding of the town. And that's so flippin' awesome. Once you're done with the party, you go to sleep, you have your KK fever dream. I mostly like this because it's kind of hailing back to Gamecube, but not in the way the Rover one did. This one is actually good. I'm not quite a fan of how hip KK's talking, but it is cool for them to hail back to that and be like, hey, have some friends. Ooh, speaking of having the KK dream, you gotta have a bed to have a dream. I love that they give you a bed right off the bat, because every single other one, they give you items to go in your home, but they're like, here's this stereo. And in City Folk and Gamecube, he's even like, yeah, there's a stereo in there for you, because I couldn't sell it at the shop. And you're like, oh, great. But like, the bed is something real. It's something you need to have a home. You need a bed. You don't need a radio or a stereo. A lantern's nice, but you don't need a lantern either. You need a bed. I guess you don't need a bed technically, but a bed makes a home. And finally, I like that they have you use Nook Miles to pay off the initial debt. Nook Miles are kind of the tutorial. You can look through all the Nook Miles, see what you can do. And so it's a way to have tutorial that just feels like accomplishing little small tasks, and you can accomplish whatever tasks you want in whatever order. Reminds me of those classes in college where it's like, to get an A, you pick out of this list of things you want to do and just add up the points. And if you get enough points, you get it. You don't have to do every assignment. You just have to pick enough to get enough points. And I like that. It's nice not being told what to do. It's nice being able to pick from options. So yeah, overall, New Horizons is really great. There's a couple things that could be balanced better for the next game, but pretty dang good. A nice introduction to your new life on this formerly deserted island. Number 1, New Leaf. What can I say? The feels got me with this one. I didn't think it would get me, but then it got me, and now it's number 1. All right, let's start with the bad as always. Rover! Rover's back to do the intro, and he targets you like some sort of heat-tracking missile. Look at him zigzagging from his seat to come talk to you. And in the other games, I could say it kind of works, because at least in Gamecube, you'll see him again when you ride the rails, visiting other towns, and in City Folk, he's the guy who signed you in, so you'll see him then. But like, you never see Rover again in New Leaf, so they just brought him in for the intro, and it's like, okay. Alright. I guess technically you wouldn't have to use him again. Like, they could have had him be the person who checks you in to your flight in New Horizons, but I'm glad they didn't do that, because he creeps me out. Anyway, on to the good. This is the first game that lets you pick your map. It is annoying because you have to scroll through 4, and if you don't know that you can say no to the map and see another map, that kind of sucks. You miss your chance, but you get some say in your map, and that's really freaking cool. At the end of talking to Rover, he says it's been a long time since he's enjoyed a train ride, and then he references that, like, oh yeah, it's been a long time, like maybe since 2002. And I love that little throwback to Gamecube times, and that the train is coming back in a game. I really enjoyed that. Then when you get off the train, there's an actual welcoming party, a full-on crew of people there, the whole town there, to say welcome, and I love that. And you just feel like, whoa, they care that I'm here. This is also the point when Isabel pressures you into becoming the mayor, which I kind of love that. You're like, me, the mayor? I don't think so. And then she's like, yep, you totally are. And drags you over to town hall. And then she gets you to town hall and she's like, sign you up to be mayor. Oh, wait, you need a house to be mayor. Okay, go over to Nook's. And it ends up being a really good flow through this intro. You go a lot of different places, but it never feels like, why did they send me here? There was no point to that. So I like that. And I like that I get to pick where I live. This is the first game that did that. It's pretty nice. And probably the best part of picking where you live is watching Tom Nook like struggle to keep up behind you, and he has his little jacket on. I love it. It's so funny. And he's so cute. He's like, oh, you don't have a house yet. You got to pay the money for it, but I'll set up this tent for you. I even did this makeshift mailbox. I like it. It's a cool side of Nook to see. And with your little tent set up, you head back to town hall, answer a couple more questions. Then your mayor ceremony is ready to begin. And this is where the feels really come in. You go over to the plaza and you plant this tree that'll grow with you as your mayor. As you play more hours, it grows, and as more days pass, it grows, and it's just this is when the feels really hit. Everyone's there with you, the whole town. And you're starting this new legacy. Tiny, tiny little sapling. Anyway, that's my New Leaf Zone number 1. But that is not where the intro ends. This is where the game lets you off the hook, lets you be free to do whatever you please, instead of forced labor, which is a huge improvement compared to the first 3 games. As you can tell in that section, there wasn't a ton of tutorial, but that's what the next part of the intro for, which is becoming mayor. To officially be donned mayor, you need that approval, baby. Which, if you're familiar with Animal Crossing, you can just do it by doing whatever you want. And eventually you'll reach approval, since it depends on you doing things you would normally do, like donating, selling things, doing stuff for villagers, etc. But if this is your first Animal Crossing, there's Isabel there to show you the ropes. And she does it all under the guise of helping you earn that approval and your mayorship. Which, if you are a newbie, that is a heck of a lot more motivating than running a bunch of small-time errands. But if you are a returning player to that game, you don't have to feel like they think you're dumb running you through all this dumb tutorial stuff. So very well balanced. Another considerate change they made is having Isabel come to your house and give you the decorating tutorial before a villager would give it to you out in the town when they gave you an item for giving them a delivery from Nook. And basically it was like, okay, there's the tutorial. I hope you remember it once you get back home. But this time, she's there watching you do the tutorial. You turn that lamp on. Okay, you got it. I'm gonna go now. I mean, it's not like it's that hard to figure out how to decorate your house, but it is nice to make sure people don't miss that. Oh, and one of my most favorite parts of the New Leaf intro, besides of course the ceremony, is Tom Nook throwing shade at previous games. Oh my goodness gracious. This kind of connects back to the whole rover train thing and the 2002 thing, but when you go in to talk to Tom Nook, he gives you some advice on how you can pay off your debt. And then he finishes that up with much faster than searching for low-paying part-time employment. It's so great. I swear he says something also, throwing shade back at when he referred to your house in Gamecube as cozy, being like, people who say something's cozy are just trying to cover up or something like that. And it's so great. So yeah, New Leaf takes it as number 1. I just really feel like the team put so much care into making the New Leaf intro. If they had so much passion behind this and they really wanted it to be a good start to the game for the player. The way they rethought it is it just feels like they cared, like it was art to them and not just a job to get done. And for that, I love it. So there you have it, the rankings of some random stranger on the internet. Intros were honestly really hard to rank because the first 3 are all kind of the same. And then the last 2, there's really no hard start or end to them. So, but yeah, those are just my thoughts of what I liked and disliked of each intro. I'm so grateful for you watching and continuing to watch all my videos. And as always, I hope you have the loveliest of lovely days wherever you are in the world. Bye for now.